Many thanks for joining us on Saturday Night Live. I'm Linda Ogutu. Now we start our bulletin tonight from State House, where President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto met with CORD leaders Raila and former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka in a strategic meeting to neutralize election aftermath divisions. The meeting, seen by many as an attempt to promote national unity and cohesion, saw the CORD leaders convey their message of goodwill to the Jubilee government. And as Samogina now reports, other pertinent issues came up for discussion, including the security of the former leaders and control of two crucial parliamentary committees.
After skipping the installation ceremony of Uhuru Kenyatta as the country's fourth president and William Ruto as first deputy president, to thaw the ice in their frosty political relations, the CORD top brass were in State House meeting their fiercest election rivals. The meeting coming only 3 days after CORD leaders returned from a South African trip, promising constructive engagement with everybody.
We are now back fully rejuvenated.
The State House meeting was a culmination of talks between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the former Prime Minister, and a second of such meeting between the two since Uhuru Kenyatta was declared winner. Sources indicate President Uhuru Kenyatta initiated the talks with the CORD leader in the spirit of neutralizing polarization and fostering unity and cohesion that cuts across the political spectrum, both to CORD and Jubilee supporters. The Saturday meeting was convened after phone conversations where the former Prime Minister requested his number two, Kalonzo Musyoka, to tag along. Sources close to the meeting say that President Uhuru Kenyatta is keen to secure Raila'S future away from active politics and engage him as a statesman. The source says Raila is being considered for appointment as a special envoy to represent the country on global matters. The station or destination is still unknown. And moments after the meeting in Huisero, Raila quipped that all is not lost.
Mimi naambia watu wengine hapana lielea Raila, ndio pole 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 hakuna. Sasa watu wanipige mimi. Sijakufa. Waswahili wanasema ati kuvunjika kwa mwiko sio mwisho wa upishi.
State House sources equally intimate that during the meeting, the former Prime Minister and former Vice President have requested their security to be guaranteed. In response, the President assured them of 12 security personnel to be attached to each of them. The CORD leaders also wanted a chase car in their security detail, but Uhuru Kenyatta says their request will be considered by the Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo. The two CORD leaders were assured that as minority coalition in Parliament, members of the coalition will chair the crucial Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investment Committee. The two committees set aside for the coalition's control. President Uhuru Kenyatta has prioritized mending the country's fabric badly battered by divisions and ethnic strife sparked off by the election and the subsequent court contest.
I will lead all Kenyans, those who voted for me and those who voted for our competitors, towards a national prosperity that is firmly rooted in a rich and abiding peace in which unity can ultimately be realized.
Wale wako wameingia na tumesema Kenya ni moja. Tuunganishe watu wa Kenya wote wawe kama kitu kimoja, ili Kenya iendelee mbele. Kenya hii demokrasia bado iko changa. Nataka kupanua hii demokrasia katika nchi yetu.
It seems like the hatchet has been buried, and after skipping the state inauguration of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, the CORD leaders say they will cooperate with the Jubilee government and as such will attend the state opening of the National Assembly to be addressed by the President. Samogina, KTN.
Definitely a meeting that lots of Kenyans were probably looking forward to, putting in mind the implications beneath it. Let's bring in Dismas Mukua, political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You've seen the story by Samogina, of course, the president meeting both Raila and Kalonzo. What's going on in your mind as you see these four men finally meeting up together after that election?
For me, it's a very important statement. You realize after the Supreme Court made their ruling, Mr. Raila Odinga came out and he said he disagrees with the outcome, but he's going to respect the decision. And he issued a statement which was a bit mischievous, because he said he's going to look for other means to encourage democracy in Kenya. And that made so many people worried. By him going to State House today, even if we don't know what they discussed in State House, but the fact that he's gone to President Kenyatta's office and they've held discussions, that's a very big statement, and it gives him the position of an elder statesman and gives the entire nation confidence. Right now, the international community, people have been wanting to do business in Kenya, are now very encouraged that we are on the right path, and also all the political players. So for me now, the healing process has begun, and it's confirmed that he respects all the democratic institutions in Kenya, and that's good news for the nation.
Right, in his acceptance speech, I remember Uhuru Kenyatta made it very clear. He sort of extended an olive hand to Raila Odinga. Do you foresee a scenario where he'll bring him in and say, look, we need to work together in this?
Well, even if President Kenyatta wants to have Raila Odinga in his cabinet, I think that would not be a wise decision. Because as a young nation, we need to have very strong institutions of democracy. And one of the hallmarks is having an opposition in parliament. That's at the National Assembly and within the Senate. So if he wants to bring him to government, he'll actually be killing democracy in Kenya. Instead, what he should do is treat him as a senior statesman, maybe have him join the eminent group of persons like Kofi Annan. There's a lot of conflicts in Africa where you can go and sort it out, but ensure that the opposition works in parliament. And he made a very good statement by saying that the Public Accounts Committee and Public Investments Committee are going to be chaired by CORD. That means now they can start checking on them. So any idea of attempting to have anybody from CORD joining the cabinet, or even serving as a principal secretary?
There has been talk of that.
I mean, that will not be a very wise move from President Kenyatta, because he'll be killing democracy. Nobody is interested in having Kenya going back to a one-party state, whereby whatever the president says goes, because President Kenyatta has got the best intentions at heart, but he has to be checked. That's why we have a strong judiciary. We need to have a very strong opposition, so that whatever he brings to parliament can be debated and very good issues come out.
So essentially you're saying, fine, let's unite this country, work together, but we need a strong opposition.
Yeah.
So whichever way we look at it, CORD has to sort of stay on the opposition side and keep the government in check.
Actually, the only reason why Mr. Raila Odinga went to State House is just to show the nation that there were artificial political differences between the two of them. But fundamentally, we are supposed to be discussing issues. And there's no way anybody can say, there's no government all over the world, even Mr. Barack Obama. He must have the Republicans to check on him. There's not a single president in the world you can say he's got the best intentions at heart and is going to run the nation in the benefit of Wanjiko. At some stage, he's going to get crowded, and mischievous people around his office will start engaging in unacceptable activities. And you need the opposition. You need a very strong, say if it's Mr. Babu Namwamba, who is going to be the minority leader in the National Assembly, he needs to come out and tackle issues. If it's going to be maybe Wetangula in the Senate, he needs to come out and tackle issues. But if you just give Mr. Kenyatta a blank check, that's not good for democracy.
So in essence, looking at this four-man meet, of course, there has been talk that really in politics, there are no permanent enemies, there are no permanent friends.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, the intention of any politician is really to persuade the electorate for them to give him powers and run the nation as he deems fit. But unfortunately for Kenya as a third world country, we don't focus on issues, we just run on personalities. So by him merely going to State House, he's telling all his political followers that please respect Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. I've gone to State House, and that is very symbolic, because by going to State House, he's accepted that Mr. Kenyatta is going to be president for the next 5 years. Otherwise, he would have told him, let's meet at a restaurant. But he's gone to his house, and they've had a very good discussion. And when you look at the body language, I mean, for a student of communications, you get a very good feel that we are going to the right place. And for me, I think now the ball would be in the court of the Senate. There's the person likely to become the leader, that's Professor Kithure Kindiki, and Mr. Wetangula and Duale and Namwamba, then to work in the interest of Wanjiko. Because again, there's a possibility that those four leaders can start cutting deals which do not serve the nation. So we're hoping that Mr. Wetangula will keep Mr. Kithure Kindiki on check. And Duale and Namwamba will keep each other on check. Dismas,
thank you very much. Dismas Mukua, political analyst, helping us to understand the meeting that we saw happening today, of course, between President Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, Raila Odinga, and Kalonzo Musyoka.